risk lurking in old records. Welcome to Mineral Projects Intel, where we dig deeper into the world of mineral projects, where we unpack the complex world of mineral projects investment, and where we make sense of the science, strategy, and sometimes the jargon behind it all. If you are interested in the risks and uncertainty in mineral resource and mineral reserves estimation, you're in the right place. Old mine records can be a gold mine, but they can also be a minefield. In this video, I want to talk about the risks that quietly lurk in historical mine data and why relying on old records without proper interrogation can materially affect mineral resource estimates, project confidence, and ultimately investment decisions. Old records are incredibly attractive, particularly for brownfields projects and mine restarts. They are often extensive, expensive to replace, and in many cases represent the only available geological and sampling information. Drill logs, underground sampling records, and historical production data give the impression of depth, continuity, and confidence. The problem is that most of this information was never collected with modern reporting standards, contemporary estimation methods, or today's level of investor scrutiny in mind. One of the most common and potentially dangerous issues lies in grade units. Historical datasets frequently mix pennyweights per ton, ounces per short ton, ounces per metric ton, grams per ton, or percentages, often without clear documentation. In some cases, grades have already been converted multiple times over decades, with no record of the original units. When these inconsistencies are not identified and corrected, they can lead to material overstatement or understatement of grade, and these errors often propagate invisibly through modern models. Another significant source of risk is outdated or inconsistent coordinate systems. Many historical datasets were captured using local mine grids, arbitrary origins, or old national datums that are no longer in use. Different shafts or mining areas may have operated on separate coordinate systems, and underground sampling may not be spatially tied to surface drilling at all. In some cases, coordinate transformations were applied years later with incomplete understanding of the original system. If spatial integrity is assumed without verification, apparent geological continuity may be entirely artificial, directly affecting domaining, variography, and resource classification. Geological interpretations present another layer of risk. Deposit models evolve over time, and interpretations that were accepted decades ago may no longer be valid. Historical records often reflect outdated stratigraphy, simplified structural models, or legacy reef naming conventions that no longer align with modern understanding. Importing old geological interpretations directly into modern software without reinterpretation effectively embeds historical assumptions into new resource estimates, potentially creating false confidence and misleading continuity. This issue is closely linked to the need to recode legacy geology. Older datasets frequently rely on short-form lithological descriptions, inconsistent abbreviations, or coding systems that changed over time as different geologists worked on the project. Without systematic recoding into a consistent modern geological framework, domains may be internally inconsistent even if they appear visually coherent. This inconsistency undermines variogram stability, introduces estimation bias, and weakens the defensibility of the resource model. Differences in drilling and sampling methods also introduce significant uncertainty. Historical projects often combine diamond drilling, percussion drilling, sludge sampling, grab samples, and underground channel sampling, sometimes within the same dataset. Core recovery may not have been recorded, sampling intervals may vary, and selective sampling was common in underground workings. If these different data types are combined without adjustment or validation, they introduce bias that can materially distort grade estimates. In many cases, there is no way to confirm whether grades from different methods are directly comparable. A major red flag in historical datasets is the absence of source documentation. Original assay certificates, laboratory details, sampling protocols, and chain of custody records are often missing. Without these, it is impossible to independently validate the accuracy of the data, only its internal consistency. Internal consistency alone does not guarantee correctness, and this limitation must be explicitly recognized when estimating resources from historical data. Production data is often heavily relied upon in old mines, but it carries its own risks. While production records can provide useful insights, they are influenced by mining selectivity, dilution, loss, and historical reconciliation practices that would not meet today's standards. Production data reflects what was mined, not necessarily what was present in the ground, and treating it as equivalent to exploration or sampling data can lead to systematic bias. Historical cutoff grades and economic assumptions present another hidden risk. Old records were generated under very different gold prices, cost structures, metallurgical recoveries, and mining methods. Material that was historically considered uneconomic may be viable today, but only if the underlying data supports inclusion. Blindly inheriting historical cutoffs can artificially constrain the resource base and mask potential upside, while simultaneously creating false confidence in legacy decisions. Data transcription and digitization errors must not be underestimated. Many historical datasets pass through handwritten logs, manual spreadsheets, and multiple phases of digitization. Each step introduced opportunities for typographical errors, decimal shifts, column misalignment, and loss of metadata. Once embedded, these errors are subtle, cumulative, and extremely difficult to detect, yet they can materially influence estimation outcomes. Finally, there is a common but dangerous assumption that because a document is old, archived, or repeatedly referenced, it must be correct. In reality, age does not equal accuracy. Many historical mine records were created for operational purposes, not for modern mineral resource estimation or public reporting. Once a document enters an archive, its content is rarely re-verified. It is simply reused, cited, and trusted over time. Errors, assumptions, and limitations can therefore become entrenched, not because they are correct, but because they are familiar. The presence of a record in an archive speaks only to its existence, not to its reliability. Modern reporting codes such as JORC, SAMREC, and NI 43101 do not prohibit the use of historical data, but they do require transparency, appropriate risk disclosure, and reasonable confidence in data quality. Old records are not a shortcut to a mineral resource. They are a responsibility that demands careful validation and clear communication of limitations. The key message is this: old mine records can unlock significant value, but only if their risks are understood, tested, and openly disclosed. The real danger is not that the data is old, it is the assumption that age implies reliability. In mineral resource estimation, confidence is not inherited, it is earned. If you found this useful, like, subscribe, and share for more mining insights. Because in the world of mineral projects, knowledge isn't just power, it's value. Thanks for watching.